Hi students and welcome back. We are doing the chapter magnetic effect of electric current, and in the previous class we understood the meaning of electromagnetic induction, that is EMI. We have understood that if the magnetic flux or the magnetic field through a coil will change with the time, then the current will be induced in the coil, and this phenomena is also called electromagnetic induction, and the current so induced in the coil is called induced current. So since we understood the current will be induced in a conductor or in a coil placed in the magnetic field, then in which direction the current will be induced. So for that also we have a particular rule which help us to identify the direction of induced current in a conductor which is a part of the coil which is placed in the magnetic field. So let's understand the rule now. And the rule we have is called Fleming's right hand rule. So this is also a very important rule we have, and this rule is to identify the direction of induced coil or induced current in a conductor which is a part of the coil. Okay, so I'm writing here a part of the coil placed in a variable magnetic field. So let's understand this rule. So we should be able to differentiate also the Fleming's left hand rule and the right hand rule. Left hand rule was to identify the direction of force given to the conductor, and right hand rule is to identify the direction of induced current. Okay, so how to understand this? Very first you should know we are going to talk about the induced current in a straight conductor which is a part of the coil. So maybe it is a part of the coil only. Okay, and this coil is placed in a magnetic field. Then in this coil or in this particular conductor, straight conductor, in which part or in which direction the current will be induced, that we are going to talk about. So let's understand this. So whenever I draw this straight conductor, we are basically talking about a part of the coil, because overall the magnetic flux through the coil should change. So for example, the current induced here is clockwise. So we can say for this straight conductor the current will be upward. If the current is anti-clockwise, we will say the induced current in this straight conductor will be anti-clockwise. So we are going to apply the rule for this particular straight conductor AB, which is a part of the coil. So let's understand this. It's not so difficult now, since we have understood the Fleming's left hand rule. We can understand the right hand rule also. So overall the concept we have is, we have a straight conductor, okay, and this straight conductor is moving in a particular direction, velocity. So a coil or a conductor will move in a particular direction. So if I say that conductor is moving in this direction, that is from A to B or X to Y. So if the conductor is moving in direction X to Y, so we can say this is the direction of motion of the conductor, or we can say in this direction we are giving the force to the conductor also, because to move the coil we have to give the force to the coil. So we are giving the force in a particular direction, and along the same direction there is the velocity of the conductor. So overall we are talking about the direction of force given to the conductor, which is nothing but the direction of movement of the coil. Okay, so that you have to remember. So it simply says that if we take the three fingers of right hand now, in the previous in the previous topic, Fleming's left hand rule, we took the help of left hand, and now we are taking the help of right hand, so don't be confused now. We take the three fingers of the right hand, that is the thumb, the forefinger and the center finger, such that now the thumb will show the direction of motion of the conductor, means in which direction the coil is moving, or we can say the direction in which the force is given to the conductor. So force given to the conductor or the coil or the motion of the conductor, they are same thing, that you have to remember. And forefinger, as it is, it will be the direction of magnetic field. Then according to the rule given by Fleming, the center finger will show you the direction of induced current. I am repeating again, if we are placing the three fingers of right hand, that is the thumb, middle, center finger and the forefinger, such that thumb shows the direction of motion of the coil or the force given to the coil, forefinger shows the direction of magnetic field, then center finger basically shows the direction of induced current in the coil or the conductor. So very first let's write down, then we will understand the example also. So statement. So I am talking about Fleming's right hand rule now. If we place thumb, forefinger and center finger of right hand perpendicular to each other such that thumb shows direction of motion or force of conductor, which is a part of the coil. I am not writing again and again. So again P4 thumb and F4 force, if you remember, nothing but the thrust. So thing are same. P4 thumb, F force is nothing but the thrust, that is also the direction of motion. Then we have forefinger shows the direction of what? That is magnetic field. Okay. So again F4 field, F4 forefinger, then center finger shows direction of induced current. So again C4 current, C4 center finger. So I hope you understood. I am repeating again. It simply says that is the Fleming's right hand rule, that if we take three fingers of the right hand such that the thumb, that is T thrust, will show the direction of force on the conductor or the motion of the conductor, direction of motion. Forefinger will show the direction of magnetic field, that is B. Then the center finger will show the direction of induced current. So simple rule we have, and let's apply this rule. Let's take one or two examples to find out in which direction the current will be induced. So one more thing you should remember, we also did the Lenz's law, that is the induced current in a particular coil, that is circular or anti-clockwise or clockwise. But this Fleming right hand rule for the a part of the conductor or the straight conductor, which is a part of the coil. So don't be confused, these two rules are different, but if you apply both the rules, you'll get the same answer. So let's take examples now. So let's take that a straight conductor is placed horizontal. Let it be more clear. So this conductor is a part of the coil, and we are giving force to this conductor in particular direction. Okay, let's let it be this way, and it is placed in a magnetic field which is B. Okay, so overall there is a straight conductor, magnetic field is this direction, force is upward, so induced current will be in which direction. So overall magnetic field is this and thumb is this. So I hope this is the case here where we have magnetic field in this direction, force is upward, then my center finger is pointing towards the board. So overall in this part the current will be inward. So the current or induced current will be inward. So overall I can't show because the current is moving towards the board. So the current will not flow along the length. We can say it will flow along the depth or the thickness of the conductor. So I hope you understood this rule. Let's take more examples to have more clarity. So here we can say induced current will be inward, that is it will flow towards the board. Let's take one more example because in this case you are able to see upward downward. Now let's take a conductor this way, magnetic field is again in this direction, okay, and let we are giving the force perpendicular, so we are giving the force inward, so let force is inward, okay. So let me show you the cross symbol. Cross means let the force will be inward, that I can't show because 3-dimensional picture we cannot have now. So overall in this case we have magnetic field same direction and force is towards the board, means we are moving the conductor towards the board. So according to the concept, magnetic field thumb towards the board, so center finger is going down. So it is understood in this case, if the magnetic field in this direction, conductor is moving towards the board, the current will be induced downward because center finger is pointing downward. So here in this case the induced current will be downward, so we can say induced current is downward, because you may be confused here, because here in this case current is not along the length, it is towards the thickness or along the thickness of the conductor. So even if you are confused, forget the example 1. Example 2 I hope it is understood. I am not showing the force direction but I have written the force is downward. And let's take example 3, same conductor, okay, magnetic field same direction, okay, and let the force is outward, okay. So let this be outward, I am showing with the dot. So let the conductor is this way, which is a part of the coil, and this conductor is coming towards you. So when it is coming towards you, because I am giving the force outward, so understood, force is outward, magnetic field is this, so find out in which direction the center finger will come. So we need to adjust the forefinger and thumb in this case. Center finger will automatically come in a direction, that will be the direction of induced current. So how this is the case now, magnetic field is along this direction, thumb is towards you because conductor is moving towards you outward, so automatically the center finger is showing upward direction, so this is the direction of induced current. So it is understood in this case the induced current I will be upward, so we can say I, that is induced current in upward direction. So I hope you understood the Fleming's right hand rule. This rule we basically apply when we have a straight conductor which is a part of the coil, and when we have an entire coil like a circular coil we discussed in the previous class, we can apply the Lenz's law also to find out if the current will be, induced current will be clockwise or anti-clockwise. So based on the condition we can either go for Fleming's right hand rule or we can go for the Lenz's law, but according to our syllabus and the contents we have, mostly we are going for Fleming's right hand rule, okay. So I hope you understood this much. Now we are moving to the next part of this topic, that is electromagnetic induction. We have understood, okay. So briefly we understood in the previous class that if we have any coil, a coil can have many turns also, and if we connect the galvanometer with this, in place of galvanometer you can connect LED, you can connect any bulb of low volt when you do the experiment in the class, okay. And then we are moving a bar magnet to and fro with north or south pole. So when we are moving the magnet to and fro, the magnetic field lines passing through this coil will change, that is magnetic flux will change, and accordingly the current will be induced in this coil upward or clockwise or anti-clockwise, and this will be shown by the needle of the galvanometer in to and fro, that is in both the direction. This part we understood. So overall we have a coil in which the magnetic flux should change, and for that change we took the help of the magnet. But there is another condition also, that is in place of this magnet we can have another coil, and this coil is connected to the battery. Okay, so now we are talking about two different coils, X and Y. Y is connected with galvanometer in which current will be induced, and X is another coil which is having a power supply, means the current will flow in this conductor or in this circuit. So we know one thing, if the current will flow through this coil X, then this coil will also behave as a magnet. You remember, this will behave as a bar magnet because this is nothing but solenoid. Yes or no? So if the coils X and Y are placed together, and if the current is given to this solenoid X, then it will also behave as a bar magnet, and the magnetic field lines of this can pass through the coil X also. That is possible. So if X and Y are closed enough, then if the coil X will behave as a magnet when the current will flow through it, then the magnetic field lines of X can pass through the Y also, because if they are placed together it is possible. And once this magnetic flux will change with the variation in X coil that we are going to discuss, we can say that the magnetic flux through Y will also change, and then Y can have the induced current. So this is what we are going to discuss now, that is if we are having two different coils, one coil is connected with a galvanometer in which we will have the induced current, and one coil is connected with a power supply, a battery, such that this coil can behave as a magnet when the current will flow. So because of coil X, the Y can have induced current. Okay, so this concept is nothing but called mutual induction. So you will understand what I mean. We'll be trying to understand with the help of the activity. So we are going to talk about mutual induction. So this is nothing but EMI only, electromagnetic induction, but now we are not going to take the help of the magnet, we are going to take the help of the electric current only. Okay, so very first let's draw the diagram. Let's take, we have coil 1 which is connected with the power supply and a switch. Okay, and next to this, very close to this, we have another coil. Okay, and let this be just connected with the galvanometer. So let's give the name also, coil X and coil Y. So I hope the setup is clear to you. We need to have two different coils. We can show you the diagram, two different coils are placed next to each other, but it is also possible like this coil can be inserted within the coil X. So you can imagine that way also, this coil Y is within the coil X, such that the Y is connected with the galvanometer and X is connected with the battery and a switch. So practically I will demonstrate how it looks like, but now you just remember the two coils are placed together. Now one thing we understood, if we switch on the circuit of X, this coil X will get magnetized, it will behave as a bar magnet because it is nothing but a solenoid, and once this will behave as a magnet, it will also have the magnetic field lines, and since the coil Y is placed close to the X, so magnetic field lines of X will pass to the Y also. So I cannot make the diagram that much because it will become complicated, otherwise briefly you can see something, it will be like this. So magnetic field lines of X will pass through Y also because they are placed very close to each other, or we can imagine Y is placed within the X. So Y coil is placed within the magnetic field of the X, that you have to remember. Okay, now let's understand the concept. So explanation. So I'm not writing about the setup, I hope you understood. Now one thing we know, the time you switch on the circuit, it will take some time. to start the current from 0 to some value, because the time you switch on the circuit, you see the ammeter will start moving in a particular direction. It will start showing you the current flowing in the circuit. But if we talk about the ammeter, okay, so I'm not showing the symbol, it is ammeter only. So it may have 0 here and maybe 1 ampere, 2 ampere, 3 ampere. So the needle may be at 0 when there is no current. The time you switch on the circuit, it will start moving and finally it will come to a particular current. Maybe it is showing 3 ampere. But 0 to 3 ampere will take some time. So the time we switch on the circuit, it takes some time to increase the current in a given circuit from 0 to some value. So it is understood, when we switch on the circuit X, it will take some time to increase the current in coil X. So for example, it takes 1 second. Just an example. So in 1 second for increase in current. So that you remember, increase in current in X. So what will happen within 1 second? There is a increase in the current in circuit X. What will happen? When the current will increase, the magnetic field will also increase. Because when the current is constant, the magnetic field of this will be constant. But if the current will increase, the magnetic field also increases. That we understood. Magnetic field is proportional to I. So all the time the magnetic field strength or magnetic flux, we can say, is proportional to current. So since it takes 1 second, for example, to increase the current in this circuit, so for 1 second there will be a change in the magnetic field, that is the magnetic flux will change. And now we know the same magnetic flux is passing through Y also. So we can say, since for a second there is an increase in the magnetic flux or magnetic field within X, there will be an increase in the magnetic flux within Y also for a second. And according to EMI, if there is an increase in the magnetic flux through a coil, the current will be induced in the circuit. So Y will have the induced current in a particular direction, and let the direction be clockwise. Just take an example. So in a second you will be able to see the galvanometer will show you some reading in coil Y, that is Y will have the induced current. I hope you understood. I am repeating again. If the circuit is switched off, the coil X is not behaving as a magnet, so there is no magnetic field. So overall in Y also there is no magnetic field, no change in magnetic field. Y will also show 0 reading. So no current in X, no current in Y. The time we switch on the circuit of X, the current will start increasing in X. Maybe within a second it will increase. But within that time, since there is a change in the current in the coil X, there will be change in the magnetic field of X for a second. Or we can say there is an increase in the magnetic field in X, and since the magnetic field or magnetic flux of X is passing through Y also, so within Y the magnetic flux will change for a second, means it will increase for a second. So for a second there will be a change in the magnetic flux within coil Y, so there will be induced current in Y, that is nothing but EMI. Okay, so I hope this part is understood. Okay, now so finally what will be your observation? We'll talk the cases. So very first we switch on the circuit. What you see, the needle will move in a direction, so it will show you some current. So induced current will increase in, okay, so coil Y will show you some induced current. Okay, this is understood. Now the time after 1 second, what will happen? After 1 second, now the maximum current will come in X. So after 1 second there is no change in the current, so whatever current is flowing in the circuit, that will be constant. So once the circuit is switched on and the circuit has got the maximum current within a second, then you know, if the current is constant, the magnetic field of X will be constant. So now B is constant in X, and since the magnetic field is constant in X, Y will also have a constant magnetic field, or we can say there is no change in magnetic field in Y. So we can say in both the magnetic field or the flux will be constant, and since now Y is having the magnetic flux but the magnetic flux is constant, we know there is no change in the magnetic flux, and if there is no change in the magnetic flux, it will come to 0. So finally there will be no current in the galvanometer, or shown by the galvanometer. So after 1 second, induced current will be 0. So we can say no induced current in Y. I hope you understood. So we started with switch on the circuit. Now the circuit is switched on. X is still behaving as a magnet, but since the magnetic field has become constant because of a constant current, so magnetic flux through Y is not changing, and since there is no change in the magnetic flux, we know there will be no induced current. So now the galvanometer will show you 0 reading. So here we can say it will show you 0, no induced current. So I hope you understood this much. Now let's talk about when we switch off the circuit. Now after this, we switch off the circuit. Now once we switch it off, again the current in X will decrease. So let the current flowing in the circuit was 2 ampere when the circuit was switched on. Okay, so let this be I1. Okay, I1 for this, and we are writing I2 for this. So now in this case there is no current here. So let the maximum current was 2 ampere, and now you switch it off. So switch off. So once we switch off the circuit X, now the current will start decreasing from 2 to 0 ampere. So it will move to 2 to 0 ampere, but again it will take some time, and let the time taken is 1 second. So the time you switch it off, it will take some time to come to 0 value. So we can say when we switch off the circuit X, the current will start decreasing in X for very less time, and for that particular time we can say the magnetic field of X will decrease, because the current will increase, magnetic field will increase, or we can say magnetic flux will also decrease. And once the magnetic flux in X will decrease, we can say the magnetic flux in Y will also start decreasing again, and once it will start decreasing, you know, according to EMI, current will be induced in the coil Y, but in this case the current will be induced in opposite direction as compared to the previous case. So let this current be I2. So I am repeating again, the time you switch off the circuit X, it will take some time to come from maximum value of current to 0 current, and for this particular time, let it be 1 second, its magnetic field or magnetic flux will change, that is the magnetic flux of X will decrease, and hence the magnetic flux of Y will also decrease, and once the magnetic flux will decrease, means there is a change in magnetic flux, and hence the current will be again induced in the coil Y, but this time the current will be induced in the opposite direction as compared to the previous case. So we can say induced current in Y in opposite direction. Okay, so it is understood when we switch on the circuit X, it will show you some deflection, means the current will be induced in this coil Y in a particular direction. When the current becomes constant here, no induced current in the coil Y. When we switch off the circuit X, again there will be induced current in Y, but that will be in opposite direction. So if you go on switch it on and off time and again, you will be able to see the movement of needle in the galvanometer in Y also in to and fro direction. And this is nothing but the concept of AC, that is now deleted from the topic or the chapter AC, that is alternating current. So now since this is not in the syllabus, but that is the concept of induced current which is alternating. Alternating means the current is changing its direction to and fro periodically in a particular time. So by just controlling the switch of X, we can have the induced current in Y in two different direction, and that is the concept of mutual induction. So I am briefly writing the statement so that you will have clarity. I cannot write down the entire explanation because it will take much time. So only thing I am writing here is, first one, I am writing switch on X. Okay, so induced current in Y in a direction when you switch it on. Okay, then after switch on in X, no induced current in Y, and third, switch of X. So again induced current in Y in opposite direction. So that will be your observation, and why I have already explained to you. When you switch it on, the magnetic flux will increase, so magnetic current will be induced in one direction. When you switch it off, magnetic flux will decrease, so induced current will be in opposite direction. And when the current is constant, no magnetic field variation in Y, and hence there is no induced current. So overall this has a very good advantage. That is why we are doing this. We are basically doing it to have a change in the input and output current. Means with the input current we can have some output current, and input and output current can be controlled. Means with low current we can have more output current, with low input current we can have more output current, or with the more input current we can have low input current. So that is the concept of transformer. So briefly you should know that is not in the syllabus, but the transformer is basically based on this mutual induction. So you can read it yourself. So transformer is having two different types, that is called step up, and one is step down. So step up is the output. If I writing this is input, okay, and this is output current. So step up means the current will increase. So here it will input current will be your less than output current, and step down is from high to low. So your input current will be okay. So step down is from high to low, so it will be less than this. So in general we can have a control in the current, that is with the low input current we can have more output current, or with the low or high input current we can have low input current. So vice versa it is possible, and that is done only with the change in the number of turns. So by controlling the number of turns of the coil X and Y, we can actually control the current of Y, and accordingly we can have an application. So transformer is totally based on the mutual induction. So you can read about it if you are really interested, but this is not in the syllabus, so I'm not going to discuss about it. Okay, so overall this chapter electromagnetic induction is over, because now the topics we are left with in this chapter are not in the syllabus for this year. So I'm not going to discuss anything now based on this chapter because it's already done. According to the syllabus we have done everything, and next class we are going to start with the next chapter now, and that will be light. I hope you'll find interest in that chapter also, and from this chapter I'll be giving you some assignments so that you can get the help from the questions and we can practice also. So let's wait for the next class, and just take care of yourself, be at home, and Hari Om.